All right, well, we're going to go ahead and go through and talk about the administrative rules. The administrative rules are found on the website that I've provided, and we'll just quickly go through Division 10, 15, 20, and 35 and highlight what I want you to know. So what I want you to know specifically in Division 10 is the examinations, which you'll be taking in 2021. It's important to know that you may sit for examination a maximum of 3 times within a 12-month period, and that there is a limit of 6 times. That's the 2 things I want you to know about the NPTAE. That's the National Physical Therapy Examination. For the PTA is often called the National Physical Therapist Assistant Examination, NPTAE. I do want you to know about the temporary permits, to know that you are eligible for a temporary permit upon graduation of the PTA program between that period and when you take the licensure exam. There is 90 days that you can have a temporary permit. That temporary permit does expire, however, upon the results of your licensure exam. So, for example, if you pass your licensure exam and get that license from the state of Oregon or the state you're practicing, the temporary permit is now void and gone. If you do not pass the licensure exam, that temporary permit is null and void as well. That's what I want you to know on that. You are required to renew your license. It is now every other year. And just know there is a process for renewal of absent license, which is at the board's discretion. So the next area I want you to pay attention to is regarding physical therapist assistants. I do want you to know this material. The definition should be a familiar one to you. It should be similar to what we've shared as a definition and what you worked on in week 1, what is in Pagula Rulo, and what I've shared with you in the lesson builder of the definition. The scope of practice is something you're familiar with from the algorithm of 101 lab, and I know Christina has shared and talked about scope of practice for PTA in PTA 101, and we've talked about it within PTA 102 in the readings and lesson builder. The prohibited acts we've talked about, particularly calling out the you cannot, as PTA, perform high velocity manipulation of the spine or peripheral joints. In other words, you cannot manipulate. However, you can do mobilizations if you're deemed competent and performing mobilizations by your supervising physical therapist. Okay, so the next division I want to talk about is physical therapist aids. And so the definition of aids is captured here in Division 20. It talks about the definition of what an aid is, so I do want you to know that. And I do also want you to know that a PT or a PTA can treat or can supervise an aid. You need to know the eligibility standards and to know that after you complete 1 year of physical therapy assistant or physical therapist assistant education, you can apply for an aid job, and the requirements in terms of hours does change. Well, that's good to know. That is something you want to do. And I do want you to start to get familiar with the prohibitive acts related to aids, and we'll talk about that and call those out as we continue this term. Then finally, the last area I want you to know is related to Division 35, continued competence. This is sometimes referred to as continued education. You're required to have within a 24-month period 24 hours of continued competence. The cycle runs through every 2 years. the ending period will come up in 2020. You graduate in 2021. So what that means is instead of having required the 24 hours, you're only required to have 12 hours. And that is called out here as well. And as far as what qualifies as continued competence, take a look at it, start to get familiar, but I'm not expecting you to know all that this term. But the course needs to be related to healthcare, and the course needs to certainly be administered by somebody who works in healthcare, and something in healthcare that is relevant to being a PT or a PTA. So this is where it calls out the provision, subsection related to physical therapist, assistant, or PT education. And those of you who will have a license in 2021 and needing to have those 12 hours as opposed to 24 hours. I hope this takes all that information and sandwiches up a bit nicely for you. If you have questions, please message me. Any questions related to this information, and I will help you out. Thank you.